Nobody called this meeting. Nobody planned it. Nobody wanted it. And yet, 5 of the most dangerous creatures ever made by human hands were sitting in a circle, in silence, waiting for someone to speak first. The chair underneath Huggy Wuggy broke before the meeting even started. He stayed seated on the floor. Nobody reacted. Nobody said a word. That should have been the first warning. Huggy Wuggy arrived 40 minutes early. He stood outside the door for 39 of those minutes because he didn't know if knocking was appropriate. He is 8 feet tall. He has broken through walls, through vents, through every barrier Playtime Co. ever built. He stood at that door, knuckles raised, and could not bring himself to knock. The strongest creatures are not always the most certain ones. Sometimes the most powerful hands in the room are the ones that don't know where to put themselves. Kissy Missy brought snacks. She placed them in the center of the table before anyone else arrived, arranged them carefully, straightened the edges. Nobody touched them. Not because they weren't hungry, but accepting warmth from someone when you've spent years deciding warmth was not for you is one of the hardest things a creature can do. The snack sat in the center of the table for a long time. Nobody moved. Catnap fell asleep before the meeting started. He fell asleep during his own introduction. He was still, somehow, the most aware one in the room. When Catnap sleeps, he does not disappear. His purple smoke drifts slow and quiet through the air, wrapping around every corner. He was listening through his sleep, reading the room with closed eyes. Some people look absent when they are actually paying more attention than anyone else. Never confuse stillness with emptiness. Dog Day was the only one who tried. He turned to Mommy Longlegs and asked if she'd had a good week. She had not had a good week. She had not had a good decade. Dog Day heard that. All of it. Even the part she didn't say out loud. And he didn't flinch. He just nodded. Like it made sense. Like she made sense. That was the kindest thing anyone had done in that factory in 11 years. Mommy Longlegs sat at the far end of the table, with her arms folded, all 6 of them, watching the door, calculating the exact number of seconds it would take to leave. She had been holding things together so long, she didn't know what her hands felt like when they were empty. She stayed anyway. That was the most important thing that happened all day. She stayed. Here is what nobody in that room said out loud. Every single one of them had been alone. Not trapped in a factory alone. The other kind, Huggy Wuggy, who could break anything, had spent years not knowing what to do with his hands when there was nothing left to break. Kissy Missy, who had enough warmth to fill every room, had nobody to give it to. Catnap, who could silence an entire world, could not figure out how to stay awake for the things that mattered. Dog Day, the most loyal creature ever built, had spent years being loyal to people who never once looked back. And Mommy Longlegs had been holding everything together for so long, she had forgotten what it felt like to put something down. The room stayed silent. 11 seconds. Then, Dog Day slid the snacks to the center of the table. No speech. No explanation. Just the plate pushed forward. Huggy Wuggy took one. Catnap woke up and took 2. Then, everyone took one. Strength means nothing if you are carrying it alone. The scariest thing in that factory was never the dark. It was the silence between creatures who needed each other and didn't know how to say it. Nobody called that meeting. But every single one of them needed it. So let me ask you something. You have a Huggy in your life, someone powerful who doesn't know where to put themselves. Or you're the Dog Day, loyal to rooms that never see you. Or the Mommy Longlegs, holding everything and quietly falling apart. Which one are you? Huggy, Kissy, Catnap, Dog Day, Mommy Longlegs. One word, drop it in the comments, because the most important meetings are the ones nobody planned. And if this hit different, subscribe. The next chapter is already waiting. It gets darker and better.